We got another Justin album coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
Justin.
It might be the Justin album.
Yeah.
There's a few coming up this year. I'm just accepting I'm fully fucked this year. First of many, Valiant Hearts with their third album, Yonder, the end of the trilogy that they've set out within the last 3 albums.
Down the black hole, not even Alice knows how deep a wonderland goes. Down the rabbit hole.
I'm gonna step back for a second. You guys take it away.
Who wants to disappoint Justin first?
Now that's the real
trust
question.
me, I was fully ready to go into this being the only one that was like all for it. So, if you guys like any songs off of it, I'm all for it.
All right, you know what? All right, let's start with this then. Let's start with the best song of 2022 so far, and it's Vertigo.
Oh, easily.
Holy fuck.
It's so good.
Valiant Hearts drops 3 underwhelming singles, and I'm like, damn, this band's gonna stay. This band's gonna stay, only having one really memorable song for me, and that is Color Wave off of that 2019 album Odyssey.
Also wrong, but continue.
I know. Vertigo comes out at the beginning of January is the final single. And what's that image you reference with SpongeBob and the light shining through the window? Yeah. That is me when I listen to Vertigo, dude. Holy shit. It is 5.5. It is some of the best 5.5 minutes of music I've heard all year. Excluding listening to songs from my best of 2021 playlist that I had on loop for the first few weeks of this year. It feels so good to finally have a Valiant Hearts song that I can say that I adore in every way. I know I said that I love Color Wave, but honestly, going back to it, Color Wave pales in comparison to how good Vertigo is. It's just every aspect of Valiant Hearts that didn't work for me in any of the other like fucking 12 songs on Odyssey and the other like 11 songs on this album that don't work for me as well. It is like you take like 5 seconds from every single one of those songs that actually work for me and you put them all into Vertigo and you've given me a masterpiece. I'm in love. I feel like that was a very open-ended way to talk about it, but more specifically, the way that Vertigo opens, that opening riff is sick. I really enjoy the verses, and then the chorus is really what sells me. A lot of the times it's the chorus of Valiant Hearts songs that don't hit as hard as I want to, but the chorus in Vertigo hits exactly the right spot for me. And then you get to my favorite moment of any song that I have heard this year so far, and honestly this might last for a couple of months, because the breakdown of this song goes fucking nuts. Where it's down the rabbit hole, you're burning through your soul, drifting through the dead of space, our hearts all turn so cold. And then bodies turn to stone, yet more fragile than cathedrals made of stained glass windows. And then you fucking do it again, where it's like down the rabbit hole and Tom Byrne does his screaming thing, and it's fucking incredible. I fucking love Vertigo, dude. It feels so good to finally not disappoint Justin at least one time.
I do appreciate that for myself.
Other than that, I will say that this is my favorite Valiant Hearts album over Odyssey. I still have not listened to Wanderlust, but I enjoyed this a lot more than Odyssey. It's a lot more memorable than Odyssey for me. Some other solid songs on here. Elysium I really enjoyed. Elevated Being was better than I remembered it. Flourishing, however you want to pronounce it.
Flourishing. It's flourishing, but it's spelled Latin.
Ah, interesting.
It's the Latin spelling, but it's pronounced flourishing, okay. Like Floursh.
Got it. Interesting. I really enjoyed that song. That song had a lot of cool moments. Unrequited Love was another one that stood out to me, particularly in like the very bouncy chorus where it's like up and down. And then I think the last moment that I really want to make note of here is Welcome Oblivion. I was not vibing with that song, and then like 2.5 minutes in, we get that breakdown, and suddenly I am fully invested into this album again. Especially considering that you get that gap of Phaedra and Supernova, which are two of my three least favorite songs on here. And then for Welcome Oblivion to start out underwhelming, I've like zoned out of the album at that point, and then that breakdown of Welcome Oblivion gets me back into it just in time for Vertigo to blow me the fuck away in the following song. So yes, I don't love this album, but also yes, this is better than I had expected it to be, given what the singles showed me. Is that fine? Is that fine? I think that's fine.
Yeah, Justin, is that acceptable? Our Valiant Hearts king.
One
Do we get
last
to-
thing I forgot to mention. Daedalus. Daedalus is everything that I don't like in a Valiant Hearts song. So, oops.
Aw, my heart.
Yeah, I could
See, I was gonna compliment at least you're
Like-
satisfied with it, and then you
Yeah.
had to diss one of my favorite songs in the album. And
No, because like Elysium's a fantastic
now we're
opener.
back down, just down a peg.
Elysium's a fantastic opener, and I'm like, okay, there's some potential here. And then Daedalus happens, and I'm like, damn, I remember exactly why I didn't like Odyssey again. All right, that's all. That's actually all now.
All right, boys, which one of you's next?
Jacob, do you want to go?
I didn't get this.
All right,
Ah.
Derek, you want
All right, he gets a pass.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say that he was the most disappointing one of all because he didn't get around to it,
No, I'll come to
I'll
him
take
later.
it. I'll take it.
and he gets a pet. Oh, I know I'm about to be most disappointed. Then damn, I was hoping Jacob would take one for the team. So I didn't. I've been with you on this Galleon's Valiant Hearts journey since way
Speaking of
back.
Galleons, apparently they have another album coming out
Yeah,
this year.
yeah,
and
of
that's
course they
fucked.
do. I knew most.
Tom
it was
Byrne is
done
a
by the
fucking
time-
madman.
Yeah. We found this back in what 2018, right? Like
Yeah.
fall 2018. Yeah. So I've been with you. You have taken off on the Tom Byrne hype train.
Uh huh.
I have not.
Uh huh.
I will say that maybe it's the third album for both of these projects. I think that what I've finally been able to have are three consistently good songs from both the third Galleons album and the third Valiant Hearts album, which I am happy with because prior I didn't have any that really stuck with me past my initial listen of the album, give it a month in rotation, whatever.
I mean, to be fair, I also didn't like Metropolis off of Galleon's second album, so it's fine.
Yeah. My three favorite songs off this album are Elevated Being, Wind Waker, and Supernova. I think if I had to order them, it's probably Supernova at number 1, Wind Waker at number 2, and Elevated Being at number 3, which I know is maybe a little interesting because I know Jake mentioned that Supernova's in his bottom 3 and Wind Waker's in your bottom 3, right?
My opinions change. We'll get to that later.
Okay. Um
I'm just
I
building. I'm just building up the mass
Yeah.
suspense of like.
so the part of where I think the album falls off for me, I think the first and foremost thing that I need to establish is that I think Vertigo's a bottom 5 song on the album.
Bitch.
And I'm really sorry for that. I don't like the chorus, and it's not clicking with me. I tried
I got
because I
lost
know you
in
guys.
the vertigo such
Yeah,
a
I'm
long
good.
time ago.
I'm good.
That just reminded me actually
I'm
that
surprised.
Vertigo
I don't
name
know what's
drops
clicking on
Mission
that.
Control. And if you remember, Mission Control is one of my favorite songs of 2021. So all I'm saying is
Yeah, I think
Continue.
for me, Justin, you were saying like what isn't clicking with me.
Yeah.
I think it's the delivery, and it's like that with the I'm lost in the Vertigo part. His range doesn't really go up any, and so I want that chorus to soar. And for me, even with that second bit of the chorus, it doesn't do it. I'm just not in with the delivery. And I think what it comes down to is that I think there are moments on here that demonstrate how good this project could be. I mean, you have like the electronic stuff in Elevated Being, right? You've got this nuts ass breakdown in Welcome Oblivion. And I think hearing that breakdown of Welcome Oblivion made me have a weaker opinion of this album because there is a bit in Wind Waker where I think a breakdown fits perfectly. and it's towards like the 2.5 minute mark. I think it's after the second chorus where it feels like there should be one, and it wasn't. And I'm like, all right, this is not the Swancore project. This is the post-hardcore project. He doesn't need to have the breakdown. But then you get breakdowns of Welcome Oblivion, and Vertigo, and it's like, okay, well, where was this in Wind Waker? Like the build was there. It
I
was
think I'm
perfect,
with
and it
you
wasn't
on
there.
Welcome Oblivion because, like, as I said, like I'm like zoned out of the album, but then the breakdown of Welcome Oblivion hits, and I'm fully back in. And I'm like, where has this breakdown been in like the
Yeah.
rest of Valiant Hearts discography?
Yeah, Supernova for me is like I hate to make this comparison every single time, but the vocal influence is so strong that I can't. It's like prime post-hardcore Johnny Craig in Supernova, and we get that a lot too on that most recent Galleons album. And he's got the clean side of his vocals, but then he includes the rasp, and it just works so perfectly. And there's elements on each of these songs that works really well, but I think I don't like the way in which the songs on this album and for this project are crafted. Like it feels like all the individual bits are there and they're delivered, and then you put them together, and I just get kind of bored, I guess, or uninterested.
I'm also with you
Um,
there.
I can't remember. I should know because I have spent a lot of time with the three songs that I like. I can't remember if it's Wind Waker or Supernova that has the kind of rap hip hop style vocals at some point.
I
But
want to say it's Wind Waker because I never added Supernova to my playlist, and I remember the
yeah,
rap vocals
so
being involved.
uh Daedalus, I guess, has that, and I don't like it. I don't like it in that song, but it's done really well in the other one. And it just the way in which, and I feel this way about Galleons too, is that each individual, he'll hit some note, and I'm like, fuck yeah, he hit the note, and we'll get some instrument, some sick riff or a breakdown. I'm like, all right, great, we have that. But the song as a whole and the album as a whole subsequently doesn't come together for me, and it's just like even at the end of Elevated Being, for instance, a top 3 song off the album for me, one that I don't see leaving my rotation anytime soon. I want at the end, the last 20 seconds, I want those vocals to cut off. He repeats the chorus, he does that, he leaves it, we get the instrumental bit with the electronics, and it ends. And it feels like it could be a great ending. And instead he includes those 2 little last vocal parts without any of the electronics at the end, and I just feel like I've been effectively musically blue-balled, I guess would be a good way to put it. That's what it is. This album feels like one big musical blue ball. And it's just the way that the songs are composed for me. And I want to like it all more than I do because the parts are all there and the individual bits are all there, and then they come together and I'm not feeling it. And it
That
pains me.
is a perfect way to sum up exactly the same thoughts that I have on this album. All of the elements are there. You put them together. Somehow it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think we're on an upward trajectory because, like I mentioned, I didn't save anything off the first 2 Galleons albums or the first 2 Valiant Hearts albums. We've got songs now. And I think, especially for this project, he's figuring out more of what he wants to do and where he wants to go. And I'm excited because I think that this is the end of that trilogy, right? Like Yonder's the final cap to it. So going into this 4th album, which God knows could drop this year because Tom Byrne never rests. Um, Maybe it's something that he explores a new side of the project and I'm able to be sold on it a bit more. I am so beyond happy with Supernova and Wind Waker, and I really enjoy Elevated Being a lot. I want to be able to say with the next Valiant Hearts album, I like more than half of this album at least, and I was consistently engaged all the way through. That's my goal. That's my Valiant Hearts bucket list, and I don't care how many albums it takes. As long as I get one, I'll be happy. And as much as I love the 3 songs that I saved off this one, this album didn't do that for me.
So now, let's commence the true Hivemind Civil War. Justin, take the stage. It's your time.
I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on this album, dude, because you got so much more insight into like the lore of all this than I
Yeah.
do, and than
Yeah,
any of us
so it's not that I'm disappointed. I'm actually very happy that there's multiple songs that people like off this album. Because like going into this, it's kind of disheartening to think that there were multiple singles that people just didn't like that I was kind of clicking with. But man, the following this entire trilogy ever since Wanderlust came out, well then it didn't come out because they transitioned to like a different label for producing, and then it came back out, which was weird, but also pretty good to experience the album again. and then Odyssey coming out, and finally this is the road cap to end the trilogy, the journey of perilousness. That's the there's not a character to the storyline. It's essentially the storyline of like just going through the different parts of life and relationships. There's a couple different songs that I can reference in Wanderlust that kind of are referenced here in this album. The one that sticks out to me the most is like either direct callback or has some sort of influence is Flourishing has a lot of the same kind of lyrical dynamics that Thrive does all the way back in Odyssey. One of the lyrics I've got here from the chorus of Flourishing is like a flower dead in the rain, it's gonna take some time for me to bloom again. Plant me in the shade, like a petal plucked out of place. I'm gonna follow the wind and float off into space. I am flourishing. And the chorus of Thrive is wilt for me, flower. I'll replant you too. From the soil to the sea, you'll be nourished endlessly. When the planets all align and the sun is high, you'll bloom and come into your own. To plant your feet becomes unsown. It's that very weird like transition. You wouldn't think of just kind of listening to these albums separately. But, like following the entire storyline has been great, and also obviously there's the callbacks and Elevated being referencing going in the end of this Odyssey, seeing a place over yonder. Yonder is paradise in this, and it's kind of referenced in the final track Yonder, where the last little bit here. I just had it pulled up and then I don't have it anymore. I am doing bad at this video game that I call life. 1 second while I pull that up.
I think it's interesting that they name drop Yonder in Elevated Being, but it's not the title track.
Yeah.
That's
well, it's the Yonder as a whole is the Yonder in quotations is paradise. So when they name dropped it, it's kind of what they meant. They were in the end of the Odyssey. Going over Yonder was means they were starting the saga of Yonder to end the saga that they had built on. But also in Yonder, you get the bridge here, delivered by Phil Bayer, and Phil Bayer I've come to love ever since his feature in Let's Pretend from Galleons. The lyrics is Wanderlust brought us all this way in Odyssey to a land so far away. I can't believe I've lived to see the day. Paradise is only a step away. That alone brought such a smile to my face when I heard this. Like I was elated by that just single delivery, and that sold the entire album for me. Like I said this when the album came out that there were some disappointments for me. Wind Waker I didn't like on first listen and considered it kind of one of my least favorite Valiant Hearts songs. And Karma is kind of unfortunately the weakest single. And Phaedra I haven't gone back to a lot, unfortunately. But everything else just hits a separate mark for me, and why I adore Valiant Hearts and the difference in post-hardcore that they bring. There's a lot of variants that they were attempting for this album, and you can definitely see compared to Odyssey, where Odyssey kind of some of the songs definitely felt the same, at least the same kind of dynamic range
I
that
can
they
definitely
had.
echo what you're saying here. This definitely feels like an evolution from Odyssey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll agree.
and it also makes sense for this to be the end, so they can try a bunch of stuff new, see what clicks, and then for the next album, who knows where that storyline's gonna go. Now that they're at Yonder, now that they're at Paradise, is it gonna be what they hoped for? Is it gonna be all roses, or is it gonna be an apocalypse? Essentially, it's the storyline can go anywhere, and there's a lot of different callbacks that I could reference. Some of my favorite songs here, Elysium is a really good opener. Not my favorite opener, This is actually, I would say, of the 3 albums, my weakest opener, but that's because I love Wanderlust and Alaska so much. I did like how Elysium referenced Alaska in the first verse, saying the cold temperatures of Alaska with mercury dropping below zero. Uh, I thought that was clever, and can kind of continue on that journey. But everything else in this album is so good. You guys already mentioned very good things about songs individually that I'll kind of echo. Supernova is really good. Um, Vertigo. Vertigo, man. Like, I put that Twitter video out that, like, it's so good. That,
I never
well,
listened to the teaser of Vertigo. I remember that you were hyped after listening to the teaser of Vertigo. I withheld myself because at that point, like, I wasn't very invested in this album. I was like, it's a Valiant Hearts song. I don't need to hear the teaser. It's just, I haven't been clicking with these singles. Vertigo comes out in the full song. And as I said earlier, that song
Why?
made me transcend.
It's perfect. It is one of the better Valiant Heart songs that I've listened to in the last couple of years. And it's easily like one of the most replayable for me. But I will say the one that I've been going back to the most is Unrequited Love. And that's because some of the ending dynamics with that. And again, I didn't have a page open for me because I'm smart and don't become planned. But it's like the bridge where it's your mind's a temple, but it's barren. Your word's familiar, but it's so foreign. Why do we plague ourselves with familiar tells when we're all doing is create our own hell? I feel like that's honestly like a direct callback to what's been going on these last 2 years, and it kind of makes sense that we're kind of the ones that are stopping ourselves from getting to where we need to be. Like, we're all our own worst enemies, and I feel like this is a lot more than what you would normally get, and it's only like a 4-line, like, the lyric that you would normally miss if you didn't catch the lyrics and actually understood what they meant. That's just a lot of little hidden details. I'm so happy with this album. I'm also so happy to just see the ending of it, and I hope that this, like, little tirade I went on at least sells some of the saga. If you've not followed the entire thing, I would really implore you to at least give the albums a listen, one after the other, starting like from start to finish. I did that before coming here to talk about it on the podcast, and while again, it's they can stand on their own, but I feel like you can definitely see the growth and the change, and could possibly pull more references that I wasn't able to pull, and some more meanings. But that's all I really got. This is easily one of my most anticipated albums of recent memory. I won't say it's a top out, like it's a I won't give it a place this year because there's a lot of bands that are releasing some good shit this year that I'm
But you're also saying
anticipating.
that, like, hypothetically, if this is your album of the year, none of us are going to be surprised, right?
You wouldn't the name Valiant Hearts, you guys wouldn't be surprised in anyway.
Yeah.
But it might show up somewhere there. Who knows? But
You going into that much detail, and it made me happy seeing how happy you were talking about this album, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not every time is it that, like, someone's really high on an album, they're talking about it so much, and, like, sometimes it just doesn't connect, but, like, the passion that you radiate talking about Valiant Hearts hits different, and it really shows. So I'm glad you were able to enlighten us with all that.
yeah,
So.
and again, I'm not upset that there the entire album wasn't a like full click for people. That's fine. You find some songs that you like. That's how music works. That's if you can at least pull a couple of songs and you say you like this band, great. I just hope that people dig a little deeper into the meanings of stuff, and maybe find more connections than I was able to form, and who knows what connection will form the next saga that they make.